Good evening and a very warm welcome to one and all present here today at the inspirational talk with Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. To start with the proceedings of today's session, I would request Mr. Rajiv Mehta, President AMA, for his welcome address.
Good evening and very warm welcome to all of you. First of all, I am very happy that our respected speaker, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, is with us. And we know that he is such an inspirational person and going to talk about the inspiration. And we see how many people are here and it's totally full. And we are also telecasting this live in hall number 3 and 5. So anybody who is waiting outside or standing behind, they can go to room 3 and 5 of AMA here, and they can sit peacefully and watch the whole program. This is also a joint program by the AMA and Gujarat Chamber of Commerce. So I welcome members of both the organizations, the Ahmedabad Management Association and the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce. So this is a unique thing which is happening, that a lot of people are here and we are working for synergy. And this is a good beginning, and we'll see that AM and Chamber of Commerce will in future do more programs for the benefit of our members as well as the general public of Ahmedabad. I will not take much time because there are so many people. I am very pleased to offer a bouquet of flower as a welcome to our respected guest, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. And I also will request Shri Patwari Sahib to first welcome our guest. So, Mr. Sonam, this is a double benefit scheme for you. Two organizations are welcoming you together. And this is also double benefit for us that you are here and you are going to speak about this very inspirational talk which you give. I am thankful to Piyush Bhai, who is our mentor, our elderly person. He is also a very, very active member at AMA and has also given endowment for a center of governance. And he is quite active, and I'm also thankful that he has organized this function very nice. And I will not take any other time. I will hand over this to Mr. Patwari straight away, and then we move to the program. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request GCCI President Sri Shailesh Patwari for his opening remarks.
Good evening to all. I am very much thankful to Piyush Kaka Wagbakri to organize such a nice talk and a right person for the CSR activity. Piyush Bhai is our CSR committee chair and he is doing a lot of CSR activities. And this is one of the projects under CSR we can consider, as Mr. Wangchuk is having a legacy. And the introduction will be given by Piyush Bhai, so I will not take much time because you would like to listen Mr. Wangchuk. And the Three Idiots picture we all know, and he is known by that also. And I think the innovations and whatever the sustainable education he has created in Ladakh is a really matter of concern, which we are not able to do it in our developed cities like Ahmedabad even. So sustainable education and innovation on which Mr. Wangchuk has done is excellent, and we will have to learn from him. And sir, we welcome you here for this kind consent to be kind of a gathering. And I'm thankful to AMA, Rajiv, because now we are working together on so many issues. and all organizations, all regional chambers of Gujarat, we are now one, and we are working and getting the work done with the government. So AMA is a equally good part. We are working together. And today what you students and all have come, I really welcome them to this nice function. And I think we can get a lot of things from Mr. Wangchuk, press, media, all these people will support this initiative. And I'm thankful to Vagbakri Group for organizing this very wonderful event. Thank you.
I would now request Mr. Piyush Desai, CMD of Vagbakri Group and CSR Committee Chairman, GCCI, to introduce our guest of today, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk.
I am pleased to introduce Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. Though a mechanical engineer by education, he has been mostly working in the field of education reform for more than 27 years. In 1988, just after he finished his engineering studies, he founded SEMCOL, S-E-C-M-O-L, Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, which aims to bring reforms in the government school systems in Ladakh. In 1994, he launched an education reform project called Operation New Hope. Together with the government and school exam results in 10th grade level shot up from 5%, that is passing rate, to currently 72% year 2014-15. Thank you. He has designed and built solar heated buildings that are low cost, made of earth, mud, but maintaining plus 15 centigrade even when the outside temperature being minus 15 in Ladakhi winters. So that is his special achievement. In order to solve the water crisis facing mountain regions due to climate change and fast melting glaciers, he invented the ice stupa artificial glaciers, which stores the wasting stream waters in winter in the form of giant ice cones or stupas and releases the water in late spring as they melt, just when farmers need water. Mr. Sonam Wangchuk was granted several awards and titles, including the Rolex Award for Enterprise 2016 in Hollywood, USA, the UNESCO Chair for Earth Architecture for India, award by CNN, IBN, and The Week magazine in India. And the list is on, so to save our time, I'm not reading all other awards, but there are many. We citizens of Gujarat are so indebted to Mr. Wangchuk that, especially for us, he traveled from Ladakh to Gujarat for motivating us. I appeal to corporate leaders present here to consider Mr. Sonam's Educational Institute for their CSR support. And I think, and I appeal to my all corporate friends to at least to assist in such a, so good a project, and not at the places like plains of Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, or etc. But in a so hilly area, he has done wonders. So I am just presenting Mr. Sonam Wangchuk before you. Thank you.
Now we come to the part of the event which we are all eagerly waiting for. I would invite Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, Founding Director of SEMCOL, for his address. Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, please.
Thank you, sirs. And hello, everyone here in Ahmedabad. I bring you greetings from the mountains of Ladakh. This morning at 5, I was in the mountains near the glaciers. So just this morning, I was among the artificial glaciers. The natural ice has gone, but now I find it very beautiful to be in the warmth of Ahmedabad. More than warmth, and more the better. I find Gujarat very energetic, vibrant, and a special connect with Ladakh. And there is, the thing that connects us is this great river, Indus, which starts from Ladakh and ends very close to now, but otherwise in Gujarat, in Kutch. And the two ends of the Indus have many similarities that I won't go into now, but two interesting different deserts, one high in the sky, high altitude desert, one by the ocean, meeting the two, making the two meet. So I bring you greetings from the higher desert to the lower, where Indus finally comes. I'll share with you a little bit of my journey in Ladakh, especially in the field of education. And I find it very interesting to share with such enthusiastic people in Gujarat and Ahmedabad. I was here a few months ago, thanks to the World Around You Environment Festival, IEF, that happened here, and where I met Piyush ji, who seems to be into so many things here in Ahmedabad. I find it very interesting that such an energetic person doing so much to support so many things in Gujarat, and very inspiring to see initiatives on environment, water, and so on in the city, as I also try to do the same in the other end of the Indus. So these days I am working on starting an alternative university. To bring you the last part of the story first, currently I'm working to change higher education so that our young people don't have to be trapped in a classroom for 8 hours, listening to lectures, scribbling on papers, with paper knowledge, paper exams, paper degrees, all paper, nothing real. So we're working on making a university where 2/3 of the time is spent in the field, experiencing real life and getting ready for real life, so that you don't have to be retrained by an employer or an employing company. You're ready to give rather than continue to take from at the cost of the employers. Yeah? So this is expected to be an interesting alternative university where a desert is being greened using artificial glaciers or man-made glaciers to green a desert, and the university is built with soil or mud that is all natural and powered and heated by the sun, all natural, all freely available to everybody. And then students learn more by life and also from experts through lectures, but much more by engaging. And when they engage in real life activities, they learn more, definitely, but they also can earn. Because when they are engaged in doing things, they generate wealth. As a byproduct, you could say. And if the university could generate wealth through the young people who are in their 20s, they are well capable of much more than paper and lectures. Yeah? When they do that, they, we believe, do not have to pay fees in rupees because they are generating wealth for the university in different ways, and then the university sustains, so education can be free for haves, have-nots, all, because there's nobody who cannot pay in sweat and imagination. That's what it takes when you do things. So that's the kind of university we are now working on. But that's the end of this, towards the last part of the story as we move on in the sands of time. But I'll come to this from the beginning and through the journey to share a little and also learn from you later. So my interest in education started very, very early, although I could start doing things much later in life. The encounter that I had with education was not having a school in my village, which was a very educating experience, I can tell you. Because I didn't have a school in this little tiny village or hamlet of 5 households, I was so lucky to be spared of the normal conventional schools that we think we learn in. Being spared of all that, I had the whole world to learn from. I could learn from the farmers, from my mother, in my mother tongue, from the mountains, the trees, the Indus River. And I can assure you that human mind does not need necessarily textbooks, teachers, and classrooms to learn. You learn. And I jokingly tell my friends that when you were studying about roots and shoots and leaves from pages of a book, I was actually in the field putting a seed in the ground, seeing the roots go down and leaves unfurl without having to memorize L-E-A-V-E-S, leaves, L-E-A-F, leaf, the plural and the singular, and grasp of concepts is lost in spellings of words, and that too of a language that we don't even speak in our country. So I was spared of that. Till 9 years, I didn't go to any schools. And I was very lucky to get to learn in my own mother tongue, from my own mother. So I cannot emphasize more the importance of using our own mother tongue. I find it so good that in Gujarat, people speak Gujarati, take pride in it. I hope you continue to do that, and you also give this. Yes, but I want to also caution you that continue to take pride at school level for your children. That's as good as mother's milk for the body, mother's tongue is for the mind. If you put them through English, L-E-A-F and L-E-A-V-E-S, they may remember the spellings, but be sure they'd lose a lot on concepts. They won't be the innovators and the scientists that lead the world if they are lost in spellings and things of a language that is not ours. So I would say mother tongue in education is utmost important if you really want somebody with intelligence and wisdom and not just a few words of English. So that's how lucky I was to get to learn in my own mother tongue. Anyway, but at 9, I was then dragged into schools. And there stopped my true learning. And in the school, because I had grown up differently, the teachers couldn't understand why I didn't speak Hindi, Urdu, English. Even if I knew a lot inside, they would, most of the time, keep me outside the classroom, standing outside the door. Yeah? And I thought, this is funny. I need more help, and the way they think I would learn more is by keeping me outside the classroom. Good. So, as a child in school, this is the only way I could be called outstanding. But then, children's minds are very good, so I quickly coped and started doing quite well, caught up with everything, and then to cut the story a little short, in 11th class, I developed an interest in, I always was interested in science, but I developed an interest in optics, lenses and mirrors and so on, and I was guided towards mechanical engineering, which is what I took. And during my mechanical engineering, due to some reasons of, I wanted to do mechanical engineering, whereas my father wanted me to do civil engineering, and I held on to doing it, and I had to do it on my own expense because I was doing something different from what my father wanted. So I had to earn to support my own education. I chose to do it myself when my father said, if you do what you want to do, you'll do it on your own. So I chose the latter. And to do that, I started teaching in Ladakh to students who had many problems in their schools. That was a time when in Ladakh, 95% of the students used to fail. 95% in their 10th grade board exams every year, year after year. So many would fail, and yet people had developed a sort of habit. It was like phenomena of nature, spring comes, summer comes, exam comes, failure comes. So every year they used to fail, and nobody questioned. And I was kind of rabble-rouser to ask questions, and I would keep asking, if 95% of a system, products of a system fail, then we better question the system. Why do we blame the products for failing, right? And many people didn't like me, but many people did see a point, and it grew a little bigger to become a kind of a movement or an organization. So we started by questioning this. We started teaching the students to do better in exams. But very soon we saw that teaching the students in their 10th class helps. They pass better. But if the system keeps producing broken products and we keep repairing those products, we could go on for 50 years and the system will keep producing broken products, right? So we saw that this was not sustainable. This was charitable. It gives you a great satisfaction to do this charity, but it's not a solution. So that's when we thought of going to the system itself and changing it at the root so that products don't fail in the first place. And you don't have to be charitable to somebody and feel great. The best charity is when nobody is there to feel gratitude. You have solved the problem. The best doctor is who prevents the disease rather than cure a patient. So we started doing things differently. But from here, I'll share my story with few images. As they say, pictures speak more than 1,000 words. So since we are talking about a place that few of you may have an idea of, it's very different. So let's take a journey with some images. So that's Ladakh, as you saw, top north of our country. Yeah, so this is a different landscape, or perhaps moonscape, you might call, or Marsscape. As you approach Ladakh by air, you see these almost seemingly uninhabitable landscape. But if you look closer, you'll see green patches, oases in these high-altitude deserts. In the rain shadow of the Himalayas, very few clouds cross the Himalayas, so no rains here, even if it is just across the Himalayan states. So it's a desert in the air. But then our ancestors mastered the art of taking water that is not even from today, water that is fossilized from thousands of years ago, called glaciers. So they mastered the art of channelizing glacial melt water to flat surfaces like those and growing barley and wheat and peas and so on, and fruits of different kinds in these deserts. That's how people in Ladakh survive, as you can see here. But they don't only survive. A colorful civilization has actually thrived amidst these harshnesses that you may see. A colorful civilization with its own lifestyle, music, dance, literature, spirituality, and so on. But yes, it is a different kind of culture, language, and that makes us a microscopic minority in a vast nation like ours. We are high up in the mountains, speak a different language, live a different life. It's a tiny microscopic minority, and it is often a problem for small minorities to find what they need in the system. For example, things can be challenging. So just to run a tap, you have to often do a lot of circus. Huh? So it's not just linguistic ethnic minority, but even environmental minority. Not because the technology doesn't exist, but because when you take a technique from New Delhi and take it up to 3,000 meters or 11,000 feet, it doesn't work. Half the time it doesn't work in Delhi also. So even less chance that it works there. So we need to develop techniques for cold mountain regions. We can't transplant things from New York or New Delhi to the mountains. And who will do it for us if not ourselves? So we have to bring it into the education of young people to solve our own problems. That's what education should be about. We study about New York, maybe about the minarets of Pisa, but not about Ladakhi conditions. So that's what we are working for. And because of this being a tiny minority, when I was doing my engineering, I saw that the education system was in a real bad shape. Schools were producing 95% failure, many times 0% success, as you can see. And we started questioning, why do you blame the students for being bad? Normally, that was the response of the society. Blame the students. Even teachers would often blame the students for being bad, for being almost retarded. Huh? They can never do well. They never pass, these Ladakhi children. And teachers who came from Kashmir or Jammu didn't understand the language, the context, the mountain culture, would often not only blame, but even devise. They were very creative. Devise pseudo-scientific reasons like, this place at this height, you don't have oxygen in the air. Children can never do well. So no oxygen. Now what can a child do about oxygen? You can't fabricate oxygen. So they might as well give up. And that's what they did. And that's what caused 0% results, because there was no hope shown by society or teachers. And that's when we started studying what was wrong, how can we change the system, and so on. Very soon we saw that what the children were made to study in classrooms was just a copy of something that was done in Srinagar, the state capital. And if you look at Srinagar, you see that it was just a copy of New Delhi, a blind copy of New Delhi. And if you look at New Delhi, it's a copy of London. So the copy of a copy of a copy, when it reaches 11,000 feet, it doesn't mean much. Later I learned that it doesn't mean much in London itself. So a dysfunctional education in London is copied in Delhi, is copied in Kashmir, is copied in Ladakh, and we wonder that children are failing, and we blame them. That's what we started questioning. And to counter that, to provide solutions, not just questions, we started a bigger movement. Once we saw that just teaching them wouldn't help, we have to change the system. We stopped these coachings of 10th grade students and went for bringing change in rural schools, in government schools, in the villages, because that's where most of our children are, in rural India, in government schools. So we started a whole movement to bring changes in the schools. And to do that, we couldn't say that we'll change the whole system, but we changed one school, one prototype school, where we organized the people to take ownership of the school, trained the teachers to teach in more interesting ways than what a book in an alien language can do to a child, use it more, engagingly in fun ways, and then we trained the teachers to be more friendly, more, application-based. It would make it more interesting for them also. And we changed the textbooks. Textbooks were, as I said, copies of something from Srinagar, from Delhi. So we redid all the textbooks. Our philosophy has been do whatever it takes. Textbooks, nobody thought could be changed, but we said they don't come from the skies. They are no holy books. They're just textbooks. They better be changed. So we changed and produced Ladakh-relevant textbooks that children can relate to, that can mean a lot in their daily lives, and therefore become less forgettable than the lessons otherwise. And slowly, working with the government, this was done with the government, the results started changing in the government schools, as mentioned earlier, from 5% consistent to slowly 7, 23, and so on. It went up to roughly 75%, which is not a big deal, but it proves a huge scientific fact that it was not because of oxygen. So the oxygen theory failed here, and we were happy to have proven that, that the human mind can adapt to oxygen levels. So, if at all, I used to wonder who is lacking oxygen. People who were propounding such theories perhaps had some problem with oxygen. But now we wanted to do something for those who were still failing. Nobody is really should be failing after spending a precious quarter of their lives in something called school. Why would you want to come out as failures? So these 25% who remain are really not failures. Actually, they are more normal than the rest. If you look at the school system, then I really think those who don't do well are more normal. If you think, human young ones have never learned the way our children learn. For millions of years, human young ones, and why only human? All young ones, whether it is kittens or puppies, they learn by engaging in real life. They don't sit with a book saying, little kittens don't go, when you see a mouse, take position, pounce. When you see a mouse, take position, pounce. They don't memorize this. And if they did, I can guarantee you these kittens will never catch a mouse. They are able to catch mice because their mother, teacher cat, doesn't make them memorize. She would rather use her tail as a little mouse and then make them pounce, pounce, pounce 100 times. Next time the mouse comes, the kittens are able to catch. That's how even cats do better than us. And we think we have invented play-way method of teaching. Well, cats do, puppies do, donkeys do. We are rather late. In fact, for millions of years, human young ones have always learned by engaging in action, along with the grown-ups engaging in action. Whether we were hunter-gatherers, our kids, our teenagers were out in the wild, risking their lives, learning through falls and rises, along with the other people, learning from real life. When we were settled farmers, again, our children were, for hundreds of years, or thousands, were there in the field in action, and that's how they learned. It's only in the last 300 years of industrial revolution that we have outsourced everything to some fossil energy from million years ago, and we just press buttons. But don't forget, nature designs its products. So nature has designed human young ones to engage with real life. this is my theory. Nature fills our young ones with lot of energy to go out in wild nature and learn. Now what happens when we get rid of all that and make it a press of few buttons, and then parents, over-parenting parents, do the rest by bringing everything on a platter for the child, on a tray, shoes, laces, everything done. So all the energy that nature has packed in our young ones has nowhere to go and comes out in ugly forms like teenager rage, rebellion, teenager problems, and so on. In cultures where young ones are subjected to all kinds of rough, wild, natural ways of learning, like in remote Ladakhi villages, I have observed, and that's why I am propounding this theory, there is no issue like teenager problems. Teenagers are respected as an important part of the society. Their energies are channelized into real things, so they don't have to, have this energy as a problem. So therefore, I'm saying, in a system like ours, 25% are perhaps more normal, so they can't do well in a paper world. And therefore, we thought, for those who were still failing, we should have a school that gives a chance to their natural instincts of, applied, engaging learning. And therefore, in '94, we started a kind of experiment in education alongside the government school reform, which was conventional school reform. For those who still failed, we did this experiment where we were to open a different kind of school. This school would be built by the students, together with the students, designed by the students and run by the students, and that's how we wanted to channelize all their energies and learning faculties by through action. So this desert, total desert, in the middle of nowhere in Ladakh, we went there and camped in canvas parachute tents, and together with the students designed the school and built it by 99. Yeah, the students were actually building and designing the school. By 99, we had developed this very different kind of school where the buildings are all built with soil, mud, natural material that you find under your feet, and powered by the sun. Energy you find right over your head. There's nobody so poor, doesn't have sun over the head, doesn't have soil under the feet, as you can see. So this was a zero energy, off-grid campus in 1996 already, when these terms were not even invented, when people laughed at us for going back to, backward materials like earth and so on. So this was going to be a different school where students participated in everything, and it was going to be a different school because here the admission criteria was that you have failed in the exams, not your division or position. So here the students are in the driving seat. They run the school, actually. They run it like a little country. Adults, grown-ups, help them, facilitate them, guide them, but they run it. And they run it by forming their little government for 2 months. Every 2 months there's an election and new team of leaders come to run the school. And the new team that is elected starts by setting their goals for the 2 months, executing them, taking responsibilities of different things, and then end by presenting their learnings, achievements, and any learnings in the students' parliament. And that's how they learn the life skills that you can't learn by just reading textbooks. By living, you learn. The responsibilities they take are not mock, made-up assignments, but actual, real responsibilities. For example, some of them would take care of the cows that give all the milk for the students, but they would use their maths and, say, statistics to track the productivity of the cows, the average milk production expressed through pie charts and bar charts, and these become unforgettable. The problem with why our students forget their lessons is because the lessons are so forgettable. If you had to apply it in life, they soon become unforgettable. So others would use it for solar cooking, yet others for organic gardening. They would see the seeds grow and become vegetables and learn their biology from that. They would see the expense on the seeds and other things, and then see what is the cost price of the vegetables, and they would sell their products to the campus kitchen at a selling price, and then learn profit is selling price minus cost price, yeah? Rather than just memorizing it. Similarly, electricity for the campus through solar panels since '96 was all a way of learning about electricity and so on. Greenhouses to produce vegetables in midwinter. More complex abstract science like germ theory would be taught and applied for fruit preservation. So the whole school goes on a jam making picnic and makes hundreds of bottles of jam and see germ theory actually come to life by increasing the shelf life of something that lasts only 1 week to go for 1 year. So they consume it during the harsh, long winters. And then they share the story of their learnings through the campus newspaper, the campus radio. Like a real country, they have their own media also. And such experiences often guide them to choose their careers also. Some of these students who were learning making jam and things became entrepreneurs who are now supplying pulp and jam to various companies all over the country. Others who were handling visitors to the school and had the responsibility of visitor management have, for example, this one girl is now famous for running this all-women's travel company, which is written about in many international journals. Yet others go back to their villages and add value to the yak milk in far-flung nomadic pastoral communities to make cheese for international consumption. So they choose their passion as their occupation along the way. Now, generally, innovations are a part of life to bring alive your chapters in science and maths and so on, and such innovations generally revolve around the mountain contexts like earth, sun, ice, and fire. So earth or mud is what we use for building the whole campus. So they learn to build shelters and comfortable shelters using earth, the ancestral material, but add to that modern science, which our ancestors didn't know, and you get a house that is plus 15 in minus 15 winter. And it is very simple. It is nothing but high school science. As you can see here in this corner, this is the chapter on heat in your 9th or 10th grade. You normally are made to memorize conduction, convection, radiation as the forms of heat transfer. But then here you see in this school building, conduction come alive. When the sun shines, and there's a greenhouse, as you can see here also, that comes on the building. So the sun heats the walls, and the wall heat from the outside of the wall slowly travels through the day with a lag of roughly 12 hours, conducting through each molecule and reaches to the inside of the room, yeah, by around 2 in night when the heat is needed in the room. It's hottest at 2 in the day, but the heat conducts slowly to the inside of the room by 2 in the morning. So that's conduction coming alive to keep you warm. And then they see convection. For example, in the greenhouse, the air gets hot with the sun's rays, and hot air rises, goes through the windows, which are kept by the student responsible, open in the morning, gives its heat to the walls made of earth, and becomes cool, therefore sinks and is pushed into the greenhouse again to be heated, and rises and goes into the building, delivers its heat. All day there is a current, like winds on the earth. So this is convection coming alive. You can see it, you can feel it with your fingers, your face. And therefore convection becomes unforgettable. And then at night, when the student responsible closes all the windows, when the sun sets, the walls that have been warming all day starts radiating it inwards to the occupants, thereby radiation coming alive. And that's how you use your science to solve problems and learn along the way. Similarly, the sun is a part of almost all the energy needed at this campus. Cooking happens through parabolic mirrors. Greenhouses produce fresh greens in midwinter, even in snow. Natural lighting. Electricity comes from photovoltaics. Water is heated by heaters that the students make themselves for a fraction of the cost. All the water needed for trees is pumped with solar pumps from the Indus. Even the cows live in solar-heated cowsheds, as you can see. Some 15 years ago, after we had made the solar-heated houses for the students, humans, we thought of doing that for the cows also. Little did we know that cows would reciprocate the favor. Yeah? It's very interesting. After we built these solar-heated cowsheds that stay at +12, the cows started giving 3 times more milk than other cows. Yeah? Yes, but can you guess why? The students here, can you guess why? It's our theory. We don't know. Hypothesis. It has to be more experimented. That this happens because we study in science again that there are warm-blooded animals and cold-blooded animals. We humans are warm-blooded animals, so are the cows. So we have to maintain our body temperature at 37 plus. Come what may, a degree up or down can kill us. That's what happens in fever or hypothermia. So we have to maintain at 37 degrees. This is what is warm-blooded animals. So the poor cows have to maintain their bodies, huge bodies at +37. When it is -5 in the cowshed, in a conventional, normal cowshed, it would be -5. And they have to keep their bodies at +37. Such a huge difference. Where will the energy come to keep that difference in temperature? Where? Their food. Their food. The food they eat goes into nothing but just maintaining their body at 37 degrees. So where can you expect milk then? But now, if you use much cheaper means like a solar-heated cowshed to make the room +12 or +15, then the precious food doesn't have to go there. It can become more milk. And therefore, 3 times more milk. Science works. High school science works. There's so much in middle school, high school science that I have started believing that most of the problems can be solved with high school science. You really don't need a PhD for most. So we started with earth buildings in the mid-90s when people laughed at us. But then slowly we saw the world catching up with all the environmental problems that concrete and cement produces, all the pollution, the carbon dioxide and monoxide and so on. We stood, vindicated that by 2016, our effort to use natural materials like earth was awarded at the global level at the World Earth Congress in Lyon in 2016. So thereby seeing that we were not wrong in holding on to our belief. So that's what I think. Even if 99 people laugh at you, and a right idea doesn't become wrong. You have to learn to stand by your ideas, and sooner or later the world will catch up with you. Similarly, in 2017, for our energy systems, using the sun, the wind, and nature to do the job, rather than fossil fuels and petrol and diesel and money and electricity, using nature to make life comfortable without costing the earth, we got the award for sustainable architecture again in Paris. So slowly the world was catching up if we stood on. Now the theme of ice towards the end, I won't take too much longer. Ice is a very interesting thing in the high Himalayas. It is the reason for many problems as glaciers are melting away, as global warming progresses, and our hope for melting ice for our farming dwindles as glaciers are going. So 3-4 years ago, together with my students, we wanted to solve that problem. In a desert that is so high altitude, people who depend on glaciers have many problems of water, but the main problem, interestingly, is springtime water. Springtime is the time when after long winter, all plants ask for water. Any new plant wants a lot of water. But springtime is also the time when there is not enough water in the streams because the glaciers are so high up. They are just out of winter, so they don't melt. And there's very little water. And in any case, add to that the problem of climate change, the glaciers are melting away fast, so they are becoming smaller, shrunken. So there's much less water to come out. So in springtime, all the farmers face a crisis. But we saw that problem, but we saw also the opportunity. We saw that by July, when full-blown summer comes, all the glaciers melt and melt fast, and there is actually excess of water in the streams. There are actually floods. If there is some rain to add to the fast melting glaciers, then you have floods. And this big flow continues into autumn, continues into even winter, mainly because in winter nobody farms. No farming happens, so the water keeps flowing in the stream. And in cold places, you would think that the stream may freeze, but it never does. A surface freezes, becomes ice, like glass, but under the ice, water keeps flowing. But flowing without anybody's use. It just flows into the Indus River and then comes very close to you, into the Arabian Sea. People don't make much use of it. So we saw the opportunity, along with the problem, that autumn, winter, there's all this water going waste. Why don't we freeze that water in winter so that we get it in spring? But easier said than done, right? When we said this, again people would laugh. They would say, how can you keep ice till May, June, when plants need? All the snow and ice on the ground is gone by March. How will you keep it till May or June? True, but we didn't accept it. We kept questioning, is it really? We can't. And then one day, suddenly, when I was driving out of our school, there's a bridge, and under the bridge I saw a chunk of ice in the month of May, mid-May, and there was a chunk, but under the bridge. Now under the bridge also it was May, so springtime under the bridge also, yet the ice has stayed. Why? What was different under the bridge? Yes, it had no sun. So this proved that if you cut the sun, then ice can stay. It melts more because of direct sun and less because of spring ambient temperature. So if we can cover it somehow, then ice can be kept till May or June. Now again, easier said than done. What will you cover a huge ice reservoir with. You can't have a big bridge, definitely. Yeah? So again, we were stuck. And we thought of many things to cover it, shade it with this material, that material, but it's so expensive. Any material would be impractical. And then finally, to our help came high school science, high school geometry this time. So you would have studied in geometry that certain shapes have minimal surface area for the given volume, like spheres, hemispheres also, or even cones. These are shapes that have low surface area for the volume. Now, why are we concerned about surface area and volume? Because the sun to melt requires surface area. That's where its energy applies, surface area. It doesn't care about volume. But farmers, on the other hand, don't care about surface area. They care about volume. So a shape that has maximum or maximal volume for the minimal surface area would be very interesting. If we keep the ice in such a shape, then the sun may not get the surface area to melt it. Now this was a hypothesis, how to make a cone or a pyramid of ice, then check if it doesn't melt. So that's exactly what we did with our students. We made a prototype, 2-story, small ice cone, as you can see there, in 2014, and then checked. Okay, before I go into more about the technicality of this ice, I'll, for the young ones here, share a little about the fun part of ice, because Ladakh is a cold region, and you would think that people there must find winters so difficult. So the serious business I'll come to, but the fun part of winters in Ladakh, as this image has come, is that ice is a lot of entertainment in winters. There are young people who study in warmer parts of the country, but in winter you'll see them going to Ladakh. Yeah? Not running away, but going to Ladakh to play ice hockey. Yeah? So this is what ice hockey is. Like hockey, but played with blades of skates on the ice. And this is very popular in all northern countries like US and Europe and Russia and so on. And in India, Ladakh could be the ice hockey or ice skating capital. But till 15 years ago, this interesting fun sport was dominated or actually only open to men. Women didn't have any place in it. That's what we saw. And we tried to again question why girls don't play this game, which makes winter so colorful. Why is it that girls don't get a chance? And we saw that the ice rinks, the fields where they play, are all either reservoirs or ponds where water freezes, and these are not located conveniently, especially for girls to come back in the evenings and so on. So they just don't go and play, and therefore only men play. And in winter, there are tournaments after tournaments of ice hockey in Ladakh, and only for men. So we started something around that 15 years ago. At our school, again using some high school science about light reflection and shading and so on, we developed a technique which we call make it anywhere ice hockey rink. Yeah? You could use any flat ground and make an ice hockey rink. And this time, we made the ice hockey rink, as you can see, right outside the girls' hostel, so that girls could play. So they could just jump out of their beds and play. Now, this could perhaps be the largest open-air ice hockey rink in India, and the girls started playing, stumbling, falling, playing slowly over the years. First, they made a team at the school, then we supported another school and had few tournaments, and then they entered the local tournaments, and they became interstate champions, and then national champions, and finally, finally these students at our school who were failures, so-called failures from the system, started representing India in the Asia Challenge Cup, which is held in Malaysia, Bangkok, and so on, and started winning some games also. So this is how ice becomes something fun that makes life easy. And now coming back to the serious part again. So we wanted to make a shape that wouldn't melt because of the shape, no covering material. Yeah? Why can't we use geometry instead of canvas or bridges or so on? And we wanted to build a cone, but building a cone or pyramid is not easy. Ask the Egyptians, yeah? How difficult it is. But luckily, we are dealing with water. Water is fluid before it freezes, but once it freezes, it's hard as rocks. So why not use the fluid properties and make it do the work itself without us having to, and then make it freeze? But how? So this is how we did. A system whereby, using high school science again, which says that water always maintains its level. You would have read. Yeah? Water at inlet and outlet will always come to the same. That's how these pipe level measures and everything is used. So we put a pipe upstream on the hill slope, upstream, and brought it downstream to a desert where we wanted to plant trees, and water always maintains the level. So upstream it came down and it wants to go to the same level. There is pressure. So if you put a fountain, then the water is sprayed into the air. -20 air in winter. Now in -20 air, when water is sprayed, what happens is that water droplets loses its heat. And this heat, which after losing which the water becomes solid, ice. And this heat is called latent heat. Again, a term that bothers you in exams, but not much more. So latent heat can be used. The chapter on latent heat can be used to make water lose its latent heat and become solid, and thereby build a pyramid itself without you having to do anything. It's like printing, 3D printing. Yeah? So this pyramid that you are seeing was 66 feet or 7 stories tall and held roughly 1 million liters of water. Built itself. There is no moving part, no machines, no power needed, just gravity is what is doing. Just as in the buildings, there is no fans, no moving parts. Convection is a natural current. You don't need any power and therefore no bills to pay either. Same here. You can use high school science. So these conical ice structures, then we thought, should be presented or positioned in an interesting way. They should not be just called ice cones or ice pyramids. We saw that in Ladakhi landscape, you have conical structures that are celebrated as spiritual monuments called stupas. So half the invention is the presentation among people, acceptability, ownership. So therefore, it shouldn't be just a lab work. So we positioned it as ice stupas so that it is close to people's heart and they take ownership of it. As you can see, stupas often have prayer flags, and we put prayer flags on our first stupa and told the villagers that if we put prayer flags, the ice will last longer in the summer. We were not completely lying. It's not a divine force, but the partial sunshade and the partial windbreak of the spring sun can actually have an effect. So mainly it was to position it as a spiritual, monument, as stupas are in Ladakh. And to fight issues like climate change, you have to bring society, traditions, spirituality as partners, collaborators, rather than work in silos as engineers and as professors, as teachers. We have to all work together. So we brought on board spiritual leaders like His Holiness, as you can see, to support this movement, and school students to take it forward, all collaborating, and therefore ice stupas became a symbol of human, effort to fight climate change. So these are later ice stupas. This one was, I think, 9 stories tall and held 3 million liters of water. As you can see here, the scale with the humans in the picture. These are huge, and they melt slowly. Now, we were not sure how long it will last. We betted that it would last till May 1st, May 15th, but finally it went till July 6th, the ice here. So, yeah. So what happens is that here the right side shows how it is formed. In winter, the spraying water makes the ice stupa go bigger and bigger, and the left side shows springtime when it starts melting, unmaking. And when it melts, the ground is designed in a way that all the water collects at one point into a tank, as you can see here, in this tank. So this particular ice stupa was giving 50,000 liters every sunny day by melting the ice in May and June, when there is no water available for any new trees. Yeah? So then from the tank, it is drip irrigated to each tree. And that's how 5,000 trees started growing on a desert which had never seen any trees. Yeah? So this is the beginning of the greening of the desert, where I said we are trying to establish an alternative university where solutions are found by the students themselves. Yeah? Now we are also working on few new things, like inside the ice stupa, there is always a dome and an access tunnel to add pipes, control room. We are now converting that into beautiful spaces to become, not yet, ice restaurants, ice hotels. That would be an exclusive experience for visiting tourists, and they would pay high prices, exclusive experience. And this experience of the tourists will pay the water of the farmers, is the idea. So finally, in 2016, this concept, the ice stupa, got the Rolex award, and roughly ₹1 crore. So our aim was not to just win an award. We applied for this award because we were already fixed on starting an alternative university. To make that happen very fast, we wanted to have a quicker mechanism than just going slow. So we thought the message needs to reach to the world, and people can then support us with finance, with human resource, with teachers, and so on. And we thought, what better than an award that is celebrated globally? So we applied for this, and it comes with a lot of media and some money also. So we used it as a stepping stone to achieve our next target, which was this alternative university. If you go just asking for money to do something, it's like begging. But if you have ₹1 crore to contribute yourself, then people feel that I can match, I can join. So we didn't have that ₹1 crore, but this award brought us ₹1 crore and, and the global publicity. And we launched our university project the day this award was announced in Hollywood, or given in Hollywood. And with that money, we are now working on this alternative university, as you can see, on that desert, which is where you saw the first trees being planted here, so that it can be greened lower and lower to become something like this site, which is what the students have painted as a vision of how it will be, a green desert that is green with ice stupas, and then a university that is built with earth and powered by sun, all natural and alternative to the development paradigm that we are following now, is what we are hoping. And therefore, on the day of this award, we launched a crowdfunding campaign nationally for the first part of the university, and we got an overwhelming support from all the people in the country. People contributed in money, but more than that, many came to volunteer. Some relocated themselves to Ladakh, giving up CEOs of company positions like CEOs. So it's an amazing way of working together to solve problems. And we were most impressed when even school children started their own campaign. For example, this Delhi student of a 7th grade student started his own campaign and raised some 1 or 2 lakh rupees to say that I want a different university when I grow up. Yeah? So here's a short film that, can we have the sound here?
I've never let my schooling interfere with my education. So said Mark Twain. How about you? Do you miss your school or college days? You perhaps do, but perhaps not for the classrooms and teachings. You actually perhaps wished every day that the school be closed the next day so you could stay home. But here's a school in Ladakh where the most dreaded punishment is to be sent home for 2 weeks, where students learn by doing things, where they engage in various innovations to solve real-life problems like climate change, where they run the school themselves like a little country with an elected government and learn management and governance that way, where they learn communication by running the campus newspaper and radio, science by designing and building their own school, solar-heated mud buildings that stay at +15 even when -15 winters, kindness and compassion through introspection and meditation. A school where the criteria of admission is not your percentage, but that the conventional system has failed you.
Hi, I'm Sonam Wangchuk from Ladakh, a remote mountain region in the Indian Himalayas. 25 years ago, when I was finishing my own engineering education, I saw that schools were a pain for everyone, but for mountain children, it was doubly painful and irrelevant. Children who spoke Ladakhi or Tibetan at home were made to sit all day memorizing in alien languages like Urdu or English. F for fan, S for ship, T for train.
Till recently, every year, 95% of the students used to fail in the all-important 10th grade exams.
Together with like-minded friends, we launched SEMCOL, the Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh, and said enough is enough.
Working with the government, we rewrote many textbooks, retrained the teachers, and organized the villagers. And the results started changing too. For those who still failed, we started the alternative school that you just saw. And the results? Thewang Rigzin went on to become a top journalist and later became the education minister of Ladakh Hill Council at 27. He had failed his 10th grade 5 times. Stanzin became a filmmaker and has been winning awards across countries. He had failed 4 times. Miss Tinless is today a celebrated social entrepreneur. She had failed 3 times. But now we see that the state of higher education is no better. Not only for Ladakhis, who of course are doubly disadvantaged again, but for you in the big cities too. It's time we change this. We in Ladakh are dreaming again. This time our dream is to create an alternative university that will use all our learnings from the past 25 years. Once again, a hands-on doers university, where the School of Business runs real-life companies on campus. The School of Tourism runs high-end hotels and simple homestays. The School of Education runs innovative schools. The revenues from these sustain the university while the students get free higher education and of course hands-on experience. But this is more than a dream now. His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche, one of the top spiritual leaders in Tibetan Buddhism after His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is supporting this cause as the chief patron. The Hill Council government of Ladakh has earmarked roughly 200 acres of land, and the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers have already started greening this desert. a fully solar-heated, mud-built university township is being planned by some of India's top architects. Together, let's start the next learning revolution, where education is not limited to just the 3 R's, all too much to do with the head alone, where skills of the hands and kindness of the heart are given equal importance. Sure, it would take significant financial resources to materialize this ambitious dream. Recently, I was awarded the prestigious Rolex Award for Enterprise for the Ice Stupa artificial glaciers.
Sonam Wangchuk.
I contribute my Rolex Award as a seed for this cause. Thank you very much.
I have decided to contribute the roughly 1 crore rupees as a seed fund to finally raise 150 crore rupees for the first phase of the project. And I very much hope that you all will join me and match this contribution according to your capacities. Together, we can change the face of higher education forever, not just for Ladakh, but for the whole world. So join us. The future has already begun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just give an update that after this Rolex Award, we launched this campaign, and 1 crore we could give from the award. But after the award, I've been doing talks in corporates at many places, and from those I was able to contribute another 1.5 crore towards this university. And yeah, so this is the university for which we are raising funds, but that's not all. I also believe in other causes that are very important and close to my heart. So we have in Ladakh a society for physically challenged people where they themselves run the whole organization and so on. And last time I met Piyush ji, he supported us with 5 lakh rupees, but I thought I would like to support this organization called Pagir. You may look up on internet, a very good organization in Ladakh that are working for inclusion of physically challenged people. So towards Piyush ji, your 5 lakh, I from my talks contributed another 5 lakh to make it a 10 lakh donation for them also. So I'm trying to raise for both the university and this cause. I'm not a part of that organization, but because they are doing such wonderful work for physically challenged and mentally challenged people, I thought something that is close to your heart also we could support. So thank you very much for that. Yeah. And yeah.
Add 0, I will make 50 lakhs.
Thank you, sir, for the highly inspiring and interesting story. And I am sure all of our minds have opened today, and we have got new insights and a new definition to many concepts such as learning, education, branding, and whatnot. So now we would take a few quick questions from the audience, just 3 to 5 questions. If anyone wants to ask Mr. Wangchuk a question, they can do so. Just raise their hands and can ask.
Okay, yeah, thank you. His question was, what is the length of the pipe for making an ice stupa from intake to outlet? Yeah? A very good question. It depends on the terrain. In the one you saw in the picture, the water had to be brought to a desert. So there it is a long pipe, 2.3 kilometer long pipe, and it is buried underground so it doesn't freeze in the pipe. You may be thinking, why not freezing in the pipe itself? So it's underground more than 5 feet, it doesn't freeze. And that's the method ancestors used to hide their potatoes from freezing. They wouldn't keep in the room, it would freeze definitely in their rooms. But where it wouldn't freeze is out in the ground, 5 feet deep. And that's what we do. 5 feet deep, the pipe comes and it doesn't freeze. For other ice stupas, where possible, we also have used 200-meter pipe length. So it depends very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Today garbage management has become a big problem. So how I am sure you must have done that in some innovative way. We would like to know about it.
Yeah, you're right. We are very good at producing garbage. Today's human society is by far the largest producer of, above all, garbage. So we are trying to use it for different purposes. At this school that you saw, it is a zero waste. We try not to bring any material that becomes garbage, and if it has to be, then we reuse it. For example, paper waste from the students, old textbooks, old notebooks become crumpled paper insulation for the buildings. Yeah? Often textbooks are best that way, crumpled as insulation. Then we reuse a lot of such things, and we are also now starting to make insulation, commercial insulation blocks that can be used in buildings. Some can be burnt also, but we would avoid, but some can be burnt to replace wood from being burnt. But we are not very good at changing the city itself. We have been more at the school, and slowly people take example, but I'm not happy with the speed. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, it was an absolute pleasure listening to you for a person like me who's trying to introduce experiential learning here in Ahmedabad. I'm Dr. Megha Bhatt, running Sinotac, Experiential Learning Academy for School Children. Sir, when we are talking about a country like Finland, who is already going after 2 years, 100% books free. So can we here to convince parents also is a task for getting children for field trips, during examination hours and all that. Is it possible that kind of learning here anytime after 50 years also?
Oh, sure. I think it can be possible anytime we want, but the change, I think, is not as much needed in schools as is needed in society. It's society that shapes the schools. It's because of our outdated thinking of what schooling should be. We dictate schools to be like that. If a school is adventurous and introducing something fun, parents come and question, why are the students having a lot of fun? As if they, that was, So we should all work to change, but not just schools and teachers, more the parents and society at large. When the mindset changes, schools will change.
To support her argument, whenever the parents sitting here when they go out of this auditorium or when they go out of the theatre after watching a movie like 3 Idiots, they'll feel overwhelmed about it. But when it comes to implementing in their own child, they become extremely jittery about it and still follow the rat race of JWs and NEETs and all. So how do we change the whole system as a society? It's not only parents, but the education system itself which needs a major change.
So I think it is already a good thing that individuals are changing, but what is perhaps needed is that individuals connect to form bodies, and when organized individuals change, there is no way political leaders don't change, Political leaders change when people, especially people who are organized, change. And that's when policies will change and schools will change and children will have a better life. So we need to not only convince ourselves, but connect to other like-minded people and express it to the political system so that policies change.
I'm sorry, we'll have to end the Q&A session here. Now I would request Shri Shailesh Patwari and Shri Piyush Desai to present a memento to Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. And I would also request Mr. Rajiv Mehta to also join. Mr. Piyush Desai, in his individual capacity, has just announced that he would contribute rupees 50 lakhs to this upcoming university. And Mr. Shailesh Patwari is also contributing rupees 5 lakhs to this concept. So please join your hands together. I would now request Mr. Pratap Chandan, Honorary Treasurer, JCCI, to propose the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Sir, before I propose a formal vote of thanks, I would like to start with a lighter note. You have told us so many things about Ladakh. I would tell you one thing about Gujarat. Our speciality of the Gujaratis is whatever we spend, we extract most out of it. And you can see from the situation of this audience, we have not spared a single inch of this audience. So all of us are very fortunate that you are here. Sir, you have touched upon the very important problem of present time, lack of education systems. What we lack in our education system, and none other than you could have enlightened us upon these subjects. So on behalf of JCCI and AMA, I express my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Sonam Wangchuk for coming all the way from Ladakh and illuminating us on this very vital subject. I would also like to thank partner of this event, Ahmedabad Management Association, and its dynamic president, Mr. Rajiv Mehta ji. I would also thank Piyush Desai, our CSR committee chairman, who has conceptualized this program and had been the visionary of this program. I would also thank all of you who are present on this evening, and some of you have been standing, even sitting in the walkway and standing all the time during all of the program. So have a big round of applause for all of you. And last and not the least, I see some of my media friends over here, so I thank them for their presence. Thank you, all of you. Good night.
And let me also thank Gujarat for all this warmth and this support. And in Ladakh, we have a special way of thanking. We don't have flowers in a desert, so we use these white scarves. So on behalf of Gujarat, I would request Piyush ji to accept this thanks. Thank you, sir. And thank you for AMA for hosting it and making it such a wonderful connection. Thank you. Thank you very much.